Thanks everybody for joining us. This is the second Ask Us Anything that Andy and I are hosting. The theme here, if you didn't attend the last one, is you get to ask us anything. It's pretty straightforward. So we'll take questions from the audience. I know Andy's got a couple of updates as well. I'm going to start off by giving a couple quick updates on some of the things we're working on that I know you're going to have questions about. So might as well answer those up front. And then feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box in Zoom or the comments on YouTube or Facebook where we're live streaming, and we will see all of that and answer the questions as they come in. Okay, so just to get started, earlier in the quarter, we posted on the community forums a list of our priorities for Q4, and I just wanted to give an update on some of those things. If you've been following, some of this may be repeated information, but just to make sure everybody's up to speed, I'm gonna go through each of those things. So we had a couple major themes, but we gave folks a bullet point list of some of the stuff we were working on. One of those things was recurring invoices failing to run. We found the source of this issue and we resolved it. We haven't seen any failed invoices in quite a while. We're continuing to monitor for that just to make sure, but as far as we know, there are no invoices failing to run anymore, so you shouldn't be seeing that. If they do occur, we get notified automatically because we've been heavily focused on observability and making sure we can see when things break. So that's a win. Hopefully we don't see that anymore. Next one is scheduled RMM scripts failing to run. So for clarity, this is specifically scheduled scripts, not scripts that you run on the fly. We have had some reliability issues there where a certain percentage of scripts that were scheduled don't actually move from the schedule to the queue and therefore don't get run. We've been focused a lot again on observability there because there are millions of scripts that get run in the Syncro system. So it is a little bit like finding a needle in the haystack when we're trying to diagnose the issue because someone says, hey, this one script didn't run. Well, it's one of millions. So it's a little hard to find, especially because it's hard to know, or at least it has been hard to know, what a failed run is versus it's hard to know when something got scheduled and then didn't run. So we've been adding observability. We can now follow a script all the way through the system and see where in the system it did not make it through. And so we've identified at least one of the major contributors to scheduled scripts not running, and currently the engineering team, this is pretty much their number one priority. They're in this sprint looking into the area that we found that is one of the main culprits, and they're trying to resolve that. So definitely working on it as we speak, and hopefully now that we can see all the failures, we can make sure that we've actually fixed it. So that's the update there. A lot of work is happening on the scripts. Heroku to AWS migration. Let's talk about that. So as you know, we were previously using Heroku, which is built on top of AWS for our hosting of the Syncro application. Over this calendar year, we've been moving to AWS directly rather than using Heroku, which will give us all kinds of improved stability, scalability, performance, observability, you name it. It's used by pretty much the entire internet, AWS. And we have a lot more direct access to tools that will help us scale our infrastructure. So we've been working on that. We're performing the last couple steps starting tomorrow. There's a maintenance window tomorrow, and we've posted that in the top of the community, various communities with more information, but that is one of the last steps. So excited to be really close to being done with that project and being able to reap all the benefits. So that's awesome. Rich text went out yesterday to early access. So if you are on the early access list for rich text, you should now have the ability to try that out. So that's been a long time coming. Excited to get that tested out and in front of users. Stripe ACH. So Stripe ACH has been a lot of work, but we finally now have it kind of in production. It's going through QA. So I'm not sure exactly when users will see it, but it is being tested and QA'd on internal accounts at the moment. Customer and tech efficiency reports. This was released earlier in the quarter. So that's awesome. Enhanced VAT support for Australia, New Zealand, and Ireland. So for context, we improved VAT for the UK earlier this year, and we wanted to roll out those same improvements for other locales. And we want to start with Australia, New Zealand, and Ireland. We have Australia and New Zealand QA ready at the moment, so it's waiting for QA, and that's where that is. The work itself is done, so assuming we don't find anything huge in QA, that'll be ready to go pretty soon. Ireland will follow shortly after that. So that is the situation there. UI UX improvements. So this has been and will continue to be a general theme. We are going to start with revamping the navigation in the app. So that will affect every page, obviously, because the navigation is on every page. And then we're queuing up improvements to a lot of other key pages. Mac agent support for OS Ventura was shipped. So that's great. We have support there. And throughout all of this, we've been fixing a ton of just bugs that come in to the queue. So I'm not going to name every single one, but there are a lot of fixes that have gone out over the quarter. So that's a quick update. I know you guys were going to ask some series of questions about those things, so I just wanted to start with that. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, I'll talk a minute about Acronis. For those of you that don't know, probably 4 or 6 weeks ago, we launched a new partnership with Acronis. We are running a pretty cool promotion on top of very aggressive pricing. The promotion ended at the end of last month. However, we had a ton of people reaching out saying, hey, can you guys extend it? We weren't able to ramp properly during the Thanksgiving holiday. Totally get it. Was an MSP myself. It is not fun working through holidays. So we've officially extended that through December 21st. So promo is going to be on top of the pricing. The pricing is publicly visible in our Acronis app card. The promo will give you 10% discount on top of that through the end of 2023. We are now also in full swing with migrations. We are doing this bit by bit. We've completely let the faucet go, so now we can migrate anyone coming from anywhere. So if you have an Acronis instance with any other vendor, we can quickly and easily migrate you over to Syncro so you can start saving money today. This is just a simple backend change. There's nothing you'll see different in your front end. Nothing different happens to your Acronis instance. So for anybody interested in talking more about Acronis, if you want to know about what it does, you want to know how the migration works, how much money you'll save by moving over to Syncro, stuff like that, either ask here or you can send me an email, andy@syncromsp.com, and we'll get you taken care of. Second thing I want to talk about quickly was a program we talked about in the last Ask Us Anything called Ask Andy. I've had a lot of interest from partners to do this program for a while, where folks are basically looking to get some questions answered. They're MSP type questions from a business perspective. So not necessarily, hey, how do I do X on Syncro? It's more, how do I close a better class of customer? Or where's the best place to market if I'm looking to break into XYZ? Here's my current MSP configuration. who should be my next hire and why. So send those questions into askandy@syncromsp.com. I'm going to field those the few days after each of our Ask Us Anything sessions. I'm going to pick one of those submissions and I'm going to do a full blog article on the topic based on your question. We're going to take that blog, we're going to move it into our community forum. So if you want to challenge those ideas, you want to build on those ideas, you just want to ask some follow-up questions to those ideas, that's where those conversations are going to be taking place. And then I did have a fair amount of people reaching out saying, hey, we're not on the community forum. Can you do this on Facebook? So yes, I will do it on both simultaneously. So community forum, Facebook, dealer's choice, where you want to participate there. Also, I had pre-written the first article to launch with the program since I didn't have questions yet. That's now live on the syncromsp.com blog. And the question is basically the number one question I get asked by MSPs daily. And it's what's the best way to structure my pricing and packaging? So I did a full write-up on it there. Check it out if you haven't already. And feel free to discuss it with me further if you like, Facebook community forums, or just pop some questions in the chat here and I'll be happy to answer them live.
You want to post a link to any of that?
Yeah. Go ahead. If you want to take the first question, I'll throw up a link.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, we can see your questions that are coming through from LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as the Zoom Q&A. So we can see those. We'll get to them. Let's see. We got a couple here. We got a question about getting an extension on your trial. Yes, we can definitely get you an extension on your trial. If you want to email me at ian@syncromsp.com, I will make sure that you get a trial extension. And I'm actually going to right now send a screenshot of your question to the sales team and see if they can follow up on that as we're on here. Okay, that is done. Hopefully they will be able to help out with that if they see it while we're talking. Okay, let's see here. You want to do another one?
Yeah, Sam from LinkedIn is saying, hey, we previously had a custom dashboard for keeping an eye on metrics. Do you guys have any plans to open up options to customize the dashboard a bit more? We are making a decent amount of changes to the UI, and it'll be a slow drip, but it'll be a consistent drip. I think we're going to do this probably in pieces. So I think what you'll see initially is a little bit more functional dashboard, trying to touch on more things than just how many tickets do I have open. Maybe you'll see your top 5 tickets or the top 5 priority tickets or tickets breaching SLA, things that you need to be drawn attention to. And then eventually down the road, we would be looking at potentially making that more customizable. But initially, it'll be more of a UI revamp to try to make it a little bit more useful across the board.
I'm also, to that point, I'm also exploring ways where we can pull Syncro data out of Syncro and put it into other BI platforms so that you can manipulate that data however you want. So looking at that for 2023 as well.
Someone's asking, I need help with integrating Syncro with QBO adoption. Do you know of someone that I can hire to do this? Well, we're not ConnectWise, so we don't expect you to have to hire people to use our platform. So reach out to me directly, Andy@syncromsp.com, and I'll put you in contact with somebody internally and we'll get you sorted. Right? Okay, that was the trial extension.
Yeah.
John's asking about payment providers in the UK. Ian, I'm actually weak on this one. WorldPay does work for UK clients today, right?
No, technically, if you go to WorldPay separate from Syncro, they have a department in the UK where they can do that, but the Syncro integration itself only works right now for US. Stripe should be able to work in the UK, and when we have, so that could work. I'd also really love to support other payment providers in 2023. So we are looking at that. We're not far enough along in that I can definitively say anything yet.
Eric from YouTube is asking, how do we get on the early access list for rich text? I don't know if we're taking any more now, but I don't know if you hang out in our community forum, Eric, or in our Facebook group, but we do regularly ask for users for different programs like that. So keep an eye out for the next one. Yeah, because we're going to be doing that fairly regularly with big features moving forward.
I will forward your name to the product manager that is working on rich text, and if he is still taking folks for early access, he'll get in touch.
Yeah, Eric, if you could toss your email into the chat too, that would help us find your account. Sam saying, honestly, Mac OS support has been great so far. Thank you for saying that, Sam. We worked on that new Mac agent for a long time. It was a long time coming. We're happy that it's finally delivering value to folks.
I got a question here from Jason. He's asking about any updates on the mission control issue where dispatch time is not coming into Syncro as build time. I have been in touch with mission control. Long story short, I don't have an update, but I am trying to get API stuff done this quarter. That issue is more of a feature request than a bug, so it's a net new piece of functionality that we'd have to put in there, which means it has to get roadmapped. So because there are many competing items for the roadmap, that is hard, but I'm trying to get a chunk of API things in there. We will see, but I am in touch with mission control about that.
Hey, while we're waiting for a couple more questions to come in, I want to show everybody we have recently spun up the machinery for our community script library again. So if folks don't know, we have a pretty in-depth community script library where you can submit your own scripts for other Syncro members to import into their account for use. So it's pretty easy to do. If I'm inside of one of my scripts right here, at the bottom of the script, you can just do submit to public script library. It's going to give you some details about what that does, how it works. You'll submit it for review. Typically every 2 weeks, we're going to go through the scripts sitting in the queue. We're going to approve or deny them. Typically we'll deny them if there's any unsafe code or we can't verify attached files and things like that. Sometimes folks accidentally put like personal API keys and stuff like that. And then if you go to the view button here on your scripts index page, you can go to the community script library. And there's currently 530 scripts in here that you can search through. You can see how many times they've been imported to kind of gauge popularity and sort by that. And there's pretty much anything and everything in here. So if you need it, it's quite likely in here. If it's not and you've got an awesome script, we'd love for you to submit it, put your name in there, you'll get credit for it. This was something that had kind of fallen to the wayside in terms of us actively getting them approved. And again, that machinery has been spun back up. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from folks about being appreciative that's going again. We're very happy that that's available again to our users. Somebody's asking from YouTube, on the Mac agent, do you plan to include the creation of a system preference profile that can block manage the installation of other applications and updates? Not right now. I think really what you're talking about is a little bit less RMM and a little bit more MDM. So that's typically where you'd control that type of stuff. So we won't really be doing much in the terms of profile management. It'll be more alerting, monitoring system resources, running scripts, and that type of thing. Same for Windows for the most part.
Got a question here from Sam wondering about third-party dashboards. That's kind of what I was mentioning earlier with BI platforms, that you could basically export your data from Syncro to. I know some folks are doing that kind of manually with Power BI, for example. And so that you can do that with Power BI. I'm trying to make it a little easier for folks. There's also an MSP specific company called MSP Bots that I'm working with that's building some dashboarding there using our API. So you could go check out MSP Bots if you want. It's mspbots.ai, but I'm also looking at some other options for 2023. So that's going to be pretty cool if it works out.
Somebody's saying regarding Acronis, do we have further documentation for deploying Google and Microsoft 365 backups? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for. Are you asking, is it an available functionality? If that's the question, then yes, it definitely is, and you could spin that up right now. If you're asking in terms of how to do it, just ask another question, a follow-up question if you can, and let me know if you're talking about do we do it or how to do it.
I can take this one from Kirk. Is it possible to write our own payment app? I use Square. Yeah. Our API does have the invoice and payments modules in it. So technically you could. It won't have the same user experience as one of the built-in apps because you won't really be able to interact with the UI. So for example, we have, let's say you have an invoice and you click take payment, like it won't show up in that drop down of payment methods, for example, if you were to do it via the API. So it won't be the same user experience, but technically you might be able to do that.
I would not recommend it.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't recommend it either.
It would be badass if you could do it, but that just seems like a lot of work for a lot less gain. I don't know if you'd get much out of that one. Okay, the follow-up question was how to do it. If you already have an instance of Acronis spun up, if you don't, let me know and I'll spin you one up. There should be FAQs and everything right in the help section in Acronis for each individual section. So you should see where to enable it and then how to enable it right in there. It should, again, just be right in your instance. So if you don't have one, that may be why. Just let me know and I can get you spun up with one. Just send me an email, andy@syncromsp.com. Brian is saying, are we going to integrate Watchman monitoring's features and technology into the Syncro RMM? It's something at some point we would like to do. For those of you that don't know, we acquired Watchman monitoring. It is a passive monitoring application for Mac specifically. They do support Windows, and I think they have light support for Linux as well, but the core functionality is designed for Mac. And it's not active. It won't change anything on the machine. It's just monitoring things. And it is a separate application today. So Brian, that may come in the future, but I wouldn't expect to see that anytime soon.
I got one here. Just wanted to follow up on the person that asked about a trial extension. Sales is going to call you any minute if they haven't already and get you that extension on your trial.
Somebody's asking about the script library. If we revise a script and submit the changes, will it update the script in the community library? It won't. And the reason being is that we have to approve everything. So it will go back into a state of being unapproved, so to speak, and then we would have to approve it again. That's just for security in general. So something doesn't sneak by, something that human eyes don't get a chance to look at. That's a good question. And then I did want to mention while we're waiting for a couple more questions, we are going to be doing the next Ask Us Anything on December 20th, right, Ian? Tuesday, December 20th?
Sounds right.
And we'll post the times and everything. Traditionally, every year, we've always done a fireside chat where we basically talk a lot about what we did this year. We talk a lot about what we're looking to do next year and what's to look forward to. We're going to kind of be rolling the two of those in together. So December 20th will act as the next Ask Us Anything, as well as the fireside chat. So there'll be a lot of recap, a lot of what's to come, and then hopefully a lot of questions as well. That was quick. I think we're through our questions already. So let me throw this out there. If folks have any, how do I do X in Syncro? We're happy to show you those and walk you through those. If anybody has any, how do I do this better in my MSP? How do I make more money as an MSP? throw those at us too. If you want to know fun facts about us, Ian is a nut when it comes to dinosaurs. I still don't know why. I worked with him for like 4 years now, but it's awesome. He knows everything about freaking dinosaurs. So whatever y'all want to talk about. Someone's saying, when you follow up on the scripts after approval, will it then replace the existing script? What we would probably do is it wouldn't, but we would match it up to your existing script. We would basically delete your existing script and then import this one in its place. So as far as the script library goes, it's really 2 phases. The first phase was spinning it back up again and getting it usable again, which is now there. It's live, it's working. The second component is adding some functionality to it. I don't have any ETAs. It's just something we'd like to do in the future. What you're talking about there, you're like, hey, I made my script 2.0 and it's better, being able to overtake the old one. That's part of it. I know a lot of folks are asking for a voting system. I don't think we're going to do a voting system, but we'll do like a dynamic count where if it's been imported into people's accounts 100 times and then deleted from 10 people's accounts, it would show a rank of 90 or something like that. And we would organically rank based on the most used scripts. So you can find those. That's the type of things we'll be looking at in the future. They're just not available there today. Someone's asking for, okay, so this is a business question. Do you have a sample rate raise letter? And I think I'm getting asked this question frequently, and I think a lot of folks are saying, hey, everybody is now having to charge more due to inflation. How do I broach this with my customers? Well, first thing is, it's not going to be a surprise. They probably already got a price increase from 50 other people. We've all got price increases from 50 other people personally and as a business. So it's not going to be a surprise. The only thing I would say is don't ever do it in a letter. Never, ever do it in a letter. Like the relationship with your customer, that matters. Getting in front of them, customizing what you're going to say, selling them on the value that you've always been providing them up to that point, and making them understand why this price increase is happening. Let them ask you questions live, reassure them that you're going to continue taking care of them in the same way you always have. That's the only suggestion I give. Anytime you want to turn that into something stock, you're not going to get a very good output from that because this business really doesn't work well with stock anything. Random Facebook users asking, PowerShell via Syncro, why doesn't WinGet work even though it's installed on the system? I would probably say you would send that one to support. I'm not aware of an issue there. It doesn't mean one doesn't exist, but it's really hard for me to answer that without looking at your script, seeing what's going on and whatnot. So yeah, I would send that one into support. And if you're not getting an answer timely, just shoot me a note. Ian, do you want to take the one from Edward there?
Are there any plans to include third-party software patching in the Mac agent? I'm pretty sure that falls under the MDM. It requires us to interact with the MDM interface in OS X. So I think it's kind of gated by the same thing Andy talked about earlier. I would recommend if you want to do third-party patching on Mac, that you use a third-party service for that outside of Syncro that has MDM. Mac is just a peculiar beast.
It's a fun one for sure. So Scott from LinkedIn saying we're using Syncro inventory tracking, getting comfortable, feels good. Keeps telling us it's not syncing with QuickBooks Online because a module isn't turned on. Scott, I would write into support on that one. That doesn't sound, obviously it doesn't sound right. I don't know of like an inherent issue there. So definitely reach out to support. They should be able to get you sorted there. Brian, I know Brian, we met at TechCon. He's asking if we're going to have a party when we're fully migrated to AWS. Yep, you bet your ass. I'm tired of saying Heroku. I'm tired of saying AWS. So I don't know, poker game at my house, everyone's invited. We'll figure something out. But yeah, we definitely needed to do something for that. Definitely a good Christmas present.
Yeah, I'm going to have a whiskey and then go to sleep.
Anonymous user from the webinar is saying on selling, when talking with smaller business clients under 5 employees and residential, I mentioned providing support along with the usual MSP stuff. They say, I don't need support. How would you overcome that objection? So this is a super good question. And a big part of everything I believe in is selling and how to sell, when to sell, why to sell, all those types of things. And this kind of encompasses all of that. So generic sales says you should be able to overcome any objection, and that's kind of BS. If someone tells you to your face when you're there, I don't want this, it doesn't make sense to tell the customer who's already paying you for service that you're going to be doing as a one-off, oh, you need it, you need it, you need to do more. It doesn't make sense. What you do is you need to sell them on your value if they're not buying into your value at that moment in time. So here's a tip. This is one of the things that I had maybe, I don't know, 80–85% closure rate with. Stack up work you do over the course of a month, especially if this is like an office, it's like 4 or 5 employees, especially if they're throwing out an existing MSP or you find them and they're just jacked up beyond belief, meaning you're gonna have to spend 20 or 30 hours initially just getting everything sorted so it gets to the level you're comfortable saying, I can now manage your environment. Once you're there, a lot of people who are trying to get incremental payments as they're doing this, don't do that. It's a risk, but it's not a very big risk. Take all of that, all those billables, walk into the office with an invoice, and then discuss this with them. Hey, you have an option. Here's your invoice for $3,000. However, everything that I did here and more doesn't mean showing a list of 50,000 things that you're going to do for them. They don't care. They care that you can expand on the value that you just provided and say, hey, look, I can sell you this for $3,000, or we can roll this in to an annual agreement. Maybe it's $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever is applicable. Roll it into the first month's payment. Say, I'm just going to include this for you. Most people are like, oh my God, not only do I save $3,000, but the customer, or excuse me, the MSP that just fixed all my problems. If you think about it, they're at the height of their happiness with you. They called you with problems. Now they don't have them, and you're to blame for that in a good way. So that's the time you approach this. And you always want to approach it when you're at the strongest level with that specific customer, when they're the happiest they can ever be with you. And that's fickle, it dwindles. If you wait a week, you wait 2 weeks, they start to forget. Things work, it's no longer a problem. So you can use that as a lure into a contract. And yes, you will have to invest in it, but once they're paying you, chances are they'll pay you forever. So it's not, I just lost $3,000 and they covered the first 6 months of the year. If you have this customer for 5 years, would you have invested $5,000 to acquire them? I certainly would. So I believe that everybody should want to as well. So that's how I typically handle that objection. Good question.
I'll take this one from anonymous attendee regarding security groups for ticket workflows and ticket automations. I don't think we have a security group for ticket automations, or we have one for like everything else. Yeah, I don't know that there is a way to give them access to that without giving them full admin access. Andy, can you think of anything?
I don't think there is either. I would say 2 things. One, if you want to ask a follow-up question, I'm just curious if this is like, did you accidentally have like a tech hop in there and change something that fouled you guys up, or is it just a general you don't want them in there question? And then in our community forum, there is a feature request category. Definitely request that, because I totally see the value of it. It definitely makes sense to have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that shouldn't be a difficult add.
Yeah, it sounds like they just don't want them to see financials.
Yep. And then Jim's asking a similar question. This has been a big problem for me. I find techs digging through financials and other reports they should be looking through. So yeah, here's what I'll say, and it'll be a little bit of a sneak peek of what we might talk about next. Ask Us Anything. A big part of what we want to work on next is PSA stuff. And some of the stuff y'all are asking for is part of that. And one of these things is separating technicians from the business, meaning when you're small, in fact, if you're just yourself, it's no big deal to throw billables on a ticket, invoice it, get the payment. You're doing all that yourself. As you get larger, those roles are segmented, and the technicians need to know less and less about what you're charging, how much you're charging in total, that kind of thing. So some of that segmentation is definitely stuff that we're looking to improve upon in 2023. Anonymous user is asking, will there be an ability for remote access contacts to be limited as to which computers they see? If I understand you correctly, and you're asking if we can limit technicians to which computers they can see, that's not possible today. That's kind of like the role-based access control. It kind of goes along with what I was just talking about there. If you're talking about from the work from home stuff that we have a native integration with Splashtop that's included for all technicians, and you can enable that for your customers. And at that level, yes, you can. So if they have 50 assets, they can see every asset, every machine that they are physically assigned to as a contact. Or you can say, hey, you're like an ops manager, the owner of the company, and you can change your portal permission so they could see all assets. So it's either everything or the ones that they're specifically assigned to. You can definitely control and manage that. Yep.
Got a couple of questions about like archiving or retiring assets.
Yeah, I guess we'll say this is probably another cool thing for 2023. We definitely we archive customers. We don't do assets today. And actually, if y'all just want to throw out some ideas or spin up a thread on the community forums, I'd love to discuss it more with you. My initial thought on that, and it may turn out to be some other way works better, would be when you guys are offboarding an asset and you want to retain everything, to basically have us in an automated way, when you say archive, create a custom asset, which is just read only. It basically replicates all the fields as they are today. Then we would basically remove the legit asset like you normally would, just uninstall it, get it out of the system, and then relink all your tickets and things so you have historical access to it. That's how I was thinking of doing that when we do decide to tackle that. But if y'all had other interesting ideas you want to talk about here or on the forums, yeah, shoot. There's a couple other questions about general onboarding and training. So one thing I'd say is use these. Like if you have some specific need or some specific flow that you're trying to improve upon or understand, ask us here, come to these. That's what we're here for. On a grander scheme, we do have a lot of resources between the two communities. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Eric, I see you saying you watched all the YouTube videos, which is awesome. So, I mean, if you've got specific questions beyond what you were shown there, let me know. Or if you feel that there's a hole in the content that we have, let me know and I'll make some stuff.
Oh, we got one here. How would you go about providing access to Syncro for a co-managed client so they can manage their tickets, assets, etc.? So we actually have a specific feature for that called single customer permissions. I'll put it in the Zoom chat, but it basically enables you to give a Syncro user access to only a single customer in Syncro. So they can see tickets and assets for only that customer. I would pass that fee on to the other party, to your client, because it does cost a user license.
Martin's saying, will there be webinar best practices for how to use Syncro? Yeah, you're in one right now. This is what we're here for. So if you got something specific, let us know. You're asking about ticket worksheets, customer custom fields, etc. I feel like we're not using Syncro to the fullest. So yeah, the one thing I'd say is learning. If I were to teach you a whole bunch of extra stuff, I don't know if that would necessarily be beneficial. I think if you want to let us know, like, here's where I feel I'm weak and here's the benefit I'd feel if I was able to improve there, let me know that. And then I can kind of show you something and tweak it to what you're asking for specifically there, Martin. Yep, it's another $129. Well, yeah, the $139 for another user. So basically, they're effectively in your instance as a technician for the co-managed IT. You'd see all their stuff. They would only see their stuff, and that's how you'd handle that with them. Scott is asking, anything coming in the amount of tweaking of the details that flow from ticket time entries into invoices? Okay, so this would be included in some of the PSA improvements we're talking about next year. I will say that I'm pretty straight up. I hate how it looks when it happens now, where it's like see tech details, gives a whole bunch of rando stuff, and it kind of makes your invoices look messy. So yes, I was thinking, and again, email me or throw out some ideas here. It might be cool when you're adding time entries to tickets if you had two types of fields. One would be for the description for you all to understand what you did. The second one would be how you want that line item to appear on the invoice. If you guys like that, just thumbs up it or say yeah. Or like I said, send me a note directly on ways you'd like to see that work, because it is something I don't like it either. I'd love to improve upon that. Paco wants a Syncro certification program, 101, 201, 301. Paco, let's talk about that. I'll talk to you about that offline because I think that's a pretty cool program. Oh, Scott, you're asking about well, hour, minute, second. Can you elaborate, Scott? It sounds like you're sorry, you're saying a bunch of stuff and I'm not following. So if you want to ask specifically what you're missing there on the ticket time entry. Does anybody else want to see like a 101, 102, 101, 201, however that is? Is that something that would be useful to you guys? Yep, okay. Martin's saying one of the biggest issues I have right now is entering time for tickets that happen all the time, excluding password resets.
Or maybe he means example password resets.
Okay, well, Martin, what's the issue you're having? So like, let's say you get a password reset email. Are you just saying like, how do you manage it when it's like 5 minutes of your time and you're trying to understand how to build that out? Or do you almost want to have like a template that's like, I did a password reset and it just adds 5 minutes? Can you elaborate on that one for me? We got a couple of users liking the 101, 201 idea. So thanks, Paco. More work for me, but I think that's a good idea.
We got a comment here that a PSA integration with MailChimp would be helpful.
I thought we had that.
Yeah, I think we do. But actually, if you can elaborate on what you'd want it to do, I'm imagining you want it to sync customers and contacts. But let me know if that's not the case.
Yeah, thanks for the offer, Paco. I'm definitely going to enlist you. That's 90% you, bud. We'll figure something out. Yeah, and also if you guys have like something we don't integrate with, especially if you're doing like sales pushes and stuff like Active Campaign or something like that, we do fully integrate with Zapier. I also think, Ian, we do customer and contact sync with PieSync, I think too, right? I think they did an integration with us not that long ago.
I'm not 100% sure about that particular one, but for sure Zapier.
You should be able to keep.
And there is a MailChimp integration.
Yep. Yeah,
I
so
will put the link to that.
Got it. Okay, so Scott's saying, yeah, he just wants the added detail. He doesn't need like the hours, minutes, seconds, and all that detail on the invoices. So Scott, is what I said there, would that work? Like if it was, you either get that as default, or if you have something in like an invoice field that's also with a line item that's optional, it could overwrite that. Would that solve that need for you? PieSync was bought by HubSpot and killed. I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know. That's interesting. Then yes, we just have Zapier then. Okay. Sam is saying separately, I've been having some issues referencing the amount of time a single agent has spent on tickets for any given day. Oh, through the API. Is there any documentation on referencing this data?
So you want to know how long they've been on a ticket. I guess my question is, are they using a ticket timer? Because the ticket timers are in the API, and so is the time clock. But there isn't like how much time they spent on this page if they're not using a ticket timer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Martin is elaborating on the ticket question where he's saying he has like a bunch of common tickets he gets all the time, and it's a pain to go ahead and do those. So he's saying the idea I always have is to do the same tasks as I enter the ticket, almost like a canned response. Yeah. Okay, Martin. So this is an awesome idea. And Zendesk has something similar. Would love to get this functionality in here. Let me know if this would work for you. They call it, I think they call it a macro or something like that, but basically it's like several things in one. So it would be like a canned response. It could include a canned response, but it could also do other stuff like set the status back to waiting on the customer to respond, or set the status to resolved, add X amount of time to the ticket. Let me know if that's what you're talking about, because I would love to see that, Martin. I think that's a terrific idea.
I'll answer this one. Is there any HubSpot integration? There's not currently a HubSpot integration. I think you probably could do a lot of what you want to do via Zapier. But like I said, I'm looking at some of the, if you can tell me what you want, I'm imagining you want to sync customers and contacts over to HubSpot, but if you want anything else, let me know. I am looking at that.
Sam's elaborating on the API question. He said they do grab ticket timers, but he couldn't find a way to reference the total time a single rep spent on tickets in a given day. Assuming that all your techs were just working during business hours for that day, it would be a little tricky. You'd have to do some manual stuff. So you'd have to basically pull all the tickets that have timers for that day, then filter them by that specific technician, and then kind of tally the time.
Yeah, here, maybe I can show one thing here. This is, pull it out in a different tab. This is the API. So this is the ticket timer and endpoint. So if you do a get here, you can see for each ticket timer, it has a ticket ID. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to basically sum all the ticket timers by ticket ID. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how you would get a total time of ticket timers per ticket.
And Sam, I don't know, it's a little bit tangential to what you're asking, but I don't know if you've seen our new efficiency reports, but we have a tech efficiency report that could also kind of break down the efficiencies and their spend as a whole against your company time to find out who's getting who's being more and less efficient, where you might be struggling with certain types of tickets. And then I also think we might have a solve for you probably coming in 2023. So there's really two other aspects to reporting that people ask for all the time besides efficiencies. One is, hey, how do I track profitability by customers and contracts? That's something we're looking at. And then the third kind of triangle of that is what I'd call like tech utilization. And that's basically all my techs clocked in for 40 hours a week. What the hell did they do? And it'd be like a report of saying, here's what they spent all the time. Here was what's billable. Here's what's not billable, basically getting billed back to your company if they were working on scripts or other internal projects like that. So I'm kind of hoping that that solves the need. I don't really like hearing that people are having to create their own stuff in the API. Even though it's cool you can do it, it would just be great to be able to click a button in Syncro and have all that stuff there for you. Let's see. Andrew's saying, is there any plans for the bulk import tool of manual assets via CSV file? He's saying that it hasn't been working for a while. Andrew, I'm not aware of that. Are you saying if you also send it to support, that's not working either? Let me know on that one specifically. And Martin is confirming, yes, he likes that macro idea where you can set, okay, let me know everybody who's in this. So if we had like a canned response like functionality on tickets where you could make up your own and it would be able to do a couple things in sequence, like add this body, link to this article, set the status, add billable time. Is that something that you all would like to see? Is that beneficial to you guys? Martin says, yep, okay. Mark is saying yes. Yeah, okay. Lindsay, Bobby, if you guys rewatch this one, this is a popular one here today.
Got a question about Scan Circle, Malwarebytes, TechBench, that kind of thing. Integration. Scan Circle already has an integration. So if you're using Scan Circle, you should be able to use the integration there. In regards to Malwarebytes, TechBench, I think I talked to Malwarebytes a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure that TechBench is the product that they'd want to integrate, but I have talked to them. Honestly, we don't get enough requests to be able to prioritize that kind of thing. If we got more requests for a Malwarebyte integration, then we would consider it, but it's not compared to some other AVs. It's not even in the top 4. So.
Mark's asking, can we make search all the things also search ticket comments? So no and yes, and here's why. Searching ticket comments, especially if you have like tens of thousands of tickets, is it's just massive. So it wouldn't be there. So that's the no part. The yes part is, this is another thing we're going to be looking at next year. And basically, we're going to be looking at moving that into the ticket index page. So it would be searching ticket comments, but within that index page, not from the search all the things. We want to make sure that that box stays extremely performant for quickly getting to customer records and asset records and things like that. Ian, do you want to let people know what Scan Circle is? There's a couple.
It's just an automated diagnostic tool. Similar to like what we made with TechSuite or like a D7, or there's a bunch of them for like doing diagnostics on break-fix stuff.
You want to take Martin's question about Hoodoo? Ian, I don't know this one.
Pretty sure Hoodoo built that integration.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left, so whatever questions y'all got left, shoot them over. While we're waiting, again, the next one of these is going to be December 20th. That'll be like our fireside chat. We'll go over past and present things. And then again, ask Andy at syncromsp.com. Let me know your business questions. I'm going to be picking the next question from the lot in the next couple days, and I should have a blog article up either later next week or early the week after. Please, when you send those in too, please don't ask a one-sentence question. Please be as detailed as you can. Give me as much context as you can. Really what you're looking to accomplish and where you're getting stumped. Somebody from YouTube is saying, I think for the asset archive, a single checkbox to have it archived, then it won't show in any reports or show in the asset list. However, a report would have the ability to show archived assets. Yeah, that's theoretically how this would work. However, we have to record the asset in some way because it can no longer be a Syncro device, so to speak, unless you just want to have a bunch of offline assets indefinitely. Because if it's still deployed, you really need a way to offboard it and take it offline. So there really needs to be a method to track the asset beyond that point. Ed on YouTube is saying, is it possible to acquire another MSP Syncro customer? I have a client that is thinking of switching MSPs and they're also using Syncro. If you're talking about like managing, like somehow migrating one customer from a Syncro instance to another, no. Yeah, there's not a way. I'm not sure there'll ever be a way to do that just because there's a lot of security implications there. So it would be a manual affair. MSP A would need to offboard them and you as MSP B would need to onboard them. And yes, to the anonymous user on Facebook, this is being recorded. We typically have it up a couple days after the event. Sam saying, sorry for asking so many questions. Well, first of all, that's why we're here. So don't ever be sorry to ask your questions. Is there any plans for adding custom buttons or controls in the custom fields of an asset? Perhaps to trigger different scripts or run automations. No, not
Fun
right
idea.
now. What's that?
It's a fun idea.
Yeah, I mean, there is like for for scripts, as an example, there is like a favorites where you can flag them and it's like a list of just stuff you use actively. But if you're thinking of something beyond that, specifically with automations, let me know what you're thinking.
Yeah, so just to show what Andy's talking about in regards to the scripts, let me share this. So if you look at an asset and then you go to scripts, you can just run a script here that's in your favorites. So that's pretty easy. It's almost as easy as just doing it right there.
Yeah.
We also do have a custom field for links. So if it's not an that could link to something in another system that runs some kind of automation, but slightly different than what you're asking.
Mark's saying, how about a quick run on the favorite scripts so you don't have to click the OK button on the next screen? I would just say that there's always ways to improve the UI. So yeah, add that as a feature request in the in our community forum, because anytime we can reduce clicks, I get it. I was an MSP. It sucks to have to do that as a tech 10,000 times a day. So anywhere we can shave you off some time, definitely want to be able to do that. What else do we got here? Somebody's asking, is it a known bug with the asset overview not being displayed properly when searching from search all the things? Yeah, there was a UI bug introduced a couple days ago. So if you guys don't know, when you use the search all the things box in the header of the screen, it will pull results, but it also does something very cool. It puts 4 icons up there, and it's for like one-click access to a filtered list of all that customers' assets, their tickets, their invoices, stuff like that. And there is a UI bug right now where it shifted those off to the left. So yeah, it is being actively fixed. Sorry, that was a weird one that passed through. Is there a way to brand the desktop agent? Yeah, there is. Here, hang on. So let's see. If you go in your admin settings, I think it is under RMM preferences. Right here, you can change the colors. You can put your icon here. And that's what will appear in the tray icon. And then if you go to your asset policies and you go to your system tray, this is fully customizable. And it's cool because it is fully customizable on a per policy basis. So you can create this for every one of your customers. So you can throw like rando URLs in here, name it whatever you want. There's a link to our customer portal if you're using that, if customers want to use the portal to pay their bills or open and respond to tickets. You can have it download files, send emails. We have these really cool agent contact forms, which is semi-customizable forms that the end user can spin up and say like, hey, I'm onboarding this person. Here's the information. Go ahead and set them up. And then this live chat is super cool if you guys aren't using it. This is full-blown live chat. This is not the garbage stuff that you get with like Screen Connect, where it just pops up a little window and you talk back and forth. You can funnel this to specific texts. It's async chat, so you can go back and forth. It'll let the customer on the other end know that, hey, we normally respond within a couple hours. The message will pop right on their desktop. You can set your custom unavailable message. You can turn chats into tickets. You can even archive chats, so your sales folks, if you have them, can go back and review communications back and forth to try to find sales holes that they could be capitalizing on. Yeah, and somebody's adding that we can add some neat one-liner PowerShell scripts right into the tray icon. That's right, it's super cool. At some point, I would love if we could put scripts in there, but there is some security concerns, so it's something we're looking at. All right, we're a minute over. Last call if anybody's got a question. Otherwise, we will see you all on the 20th.
I got one here. I just want to give them the answer really quick. You want the image specs for the icon in the system tray. I just posted the link to the knowledge base article there, which has that information.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today, everybody. Again, we'll see you on the 20th. Thanks, everybody, for joining. And like I said, we're going to be doing these regularly every 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see you at the next one.